Welcome back, everyone, to a local sports recap. My name is Ben Schmidt, reporter here in Quincy, and essentially what I'm doing in these videos is just breaking down very briefly some of the things I've seen covering games all around the Tri-States over this past week. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We've got a little bit of variety this week, some basketball to get to. For the final time in one of these videos for a long time, we get football as one of our teams in North Shelby was in the state championship game. Hit on that, but let's get right into it. We got a couple games to get to that I was at this past week and some highlights for us. Let's start going back to last Friday. Made a quick stop to Monroe City to see Illini West and Monroe City play, which ended up being an overtime finish. Monroe City took it 63-57. It was a really fun, competitive game. What I was seeing early, I thought Monroe City was going to kind of pull away in this one, and I give Illini West a lot of credit in the second half for turning that into a game. Not that Monroe City was running away with it earlier, but at one point it did get to a 10-point double-digit game, and Illini West was just able to kind of hang around and keep things close. And like I said, they eventually battled back to force overtime, so a lot of credit there. But Monroe City gets the 6-point win in overtime. A couple quick names to shout out. One, I thought a very big bucket from Monroe City very late in that first half. Blake Fauner had an and one, made the free throw too, was in the final seconds of that second quarter. That was really big because he had a dude jump up, try and block the shot, ended up essentially landing on his back and falling over, and Fauner fought through contact and goes up for the finish for a big-time and one that adds 3 more points going into the locker room, and they needed it because we were tied after 4 quarters. I liked what I saw, too, from Abram and Trey Smizer. There was one play specifically weaving through the lane, goes in for the layup. I'll put that on the screen right now as you're watching this. So that was, I thought, good for Monroe City, and obviously, again, they needed all those points because it went to overtime. For Illini West, I thought Wesley Robertson, one play specifically getting to the hoop, and then other plays as a facilitator, handled the ball a lot for the Illini West Chargers offense. So I thought a lot of really quality basketball in this game, and it showed in the final score with it needing and just more than the 4 quarters. So that was a fun one. You get an Illinois team in Illini West going to play at Monroe City in Missouri, which is a fun matchup. A little bit different there since one state plays with a shot clock, one doesn't. Didn't have an impact big in this game, but just some fun stuff when you get those crossover games like we had here. Now we'll get into Saturday. The big one, obviously, we talked about it for a couple weeks. Talked about North Shelby last week in their win against Bramer. Now they come back in the state championship game. They lose 48-20 to Archie. Archie showed why they're back-to-back state champions. This was a game where North Shelby deserved a lot of credit early. They were essentially running a Wildcat quarterback, dealing with injuries all over the place, one of those being to their quarterback, Jay Daniel, who really was not going to be able to throw the ball in this one. So they essentially had Gannon Bowen, their best offensive player, running Wildcat quarterback. Take the snap and run one way or the other and see if you can beat a guy to the edge. And I'll give them credit. They led this game 20-16 at half. Gannon Bowen had 3 first-half touchdowns, number 47, 48, and 49 on the season, which is incredible to say out loud. But eventually Archie came out of that locker room and kind of took that away. It looked like contained a little bit. Bowen was not getting to the edge as much as he was in that first half. When you look at one of the long touchdowns he had, yes, he broke a tackle in the backfield, but then he gets out to the corner, and he's got the speed to break away from anyone going down the sideline. And when you kind of can prevent him from getting to the edge. That's what Archie did. It was a really tall order for North Shelby. David Stuckey, the coach, had these boys ready to play, and that's evident in the way this game was. It just, they couldn't move the ball out of halftime, and Archie started moving the ball. So state championship game in St. Joe. The injuries were a big deal here. You're playing Wildcat quarterback, essentially. You didn't have the deep passing attack that you did for most of the season, that you had even to come back in that game against Bramer. Once this became, it was 32-20 at one point, like a 1-2 touchdown deficit. They tried as much as they could to do different things. They were throwing screens to the offensive linemen. Bo Bacon made a few passes, came in as backup quarterback. They were trying everything. It just was tough. A big hill to overclimb, and still well-deserved second place finish for North Shelby this season. The boys got some hardware, fun celebration walking off the field for the seniors, realizing this is the last time, and obviously it's the last time too for Coach Stuckey, who set it off into retirement. So a whole lot to be proud of. And hey, too, the crowd in St. Joe, for me from Quincy, it's 3 hours. It's less than that. Still a drive though to St. Joseph for those fans up there in that North Shelby community. They showed out. This was a fun atmosphere on the Missouri Western campus with everyone in the stands where I was at on the sideline, getting to see and hear the cheers and everything. And they gave them a good ovation after the game as well. So a lot of fun, well-deserved state championship appearance for that team and community. They just fall up short to now a team in Archie that is back-to-back state champions, and certainly deserve that one. And fun, too, to be on the same site where the Chiefs hold their training camps. A little bit of an NFL vibe right there. You're on the field, I'm sure, as one of those players, and you can think like, hey, Patrick Mahomes has practiced and played on this field during training camp. So just a fun little extra nugget there when you're playing with the Chiefs, spend their late summers getting ready for the NFL season. But now we are done with football. North Shelby was our last team remaining. We had a couple teams go deeper in the playoffs, South Shelby and Bowling Green the week prior, who had made it to state semifinal games. But North Shelby, the one who makes it to a state championship in 8-man football. And now going to be some changes next year with a new head coach. Their quarterback was a senior. Jay Dano graduated, so you're going to have your prolific offensive scorer and Gannon Bowen back, and you're going to have plenty of other pieces too. Bo Bacon is going to come back, so maybe he plays a big role. They had four seniors kind of go off the field for the last time on Saturday. So still plenty of talent returning. It'll just be interesting to see where they go from here, moving on to next season, and hopefully some pretty high expectations. Let's get back to basketball. One final game from this past week I'm going to get into, and it was Tuesday night, Macomb versus Farmington. I have to start before the game even took place. A really fun ceremony for Shelby Burgett and the Distinguished Media Service Award. Well-deserved for someone who has been doing journalism and sports journalism for 30, 40 years, and certainly was deserved. He was emotional. That was really fun for me as a young sports reporter journalist, getting to see someone who's done it for so long and got to meet him and interview him after the game. So that was obviously very cool. If you haven't seen that story, I encourage you to go check it out. It's about 2 minutes of him getting to share his thoughts. That was fun to put together. But quick couple of notes here. Braden Holthouse had 18, Drew Watson had 15. What I noticed from them, as multi-sport athletes, we saw them all season long on the football field. The chemistry is still there. Holthouse he was in one corner by the three-point line, went all the way across to the other corner. Perfect pass. I believe it was to Watson. If not, it was one of his other teammates who then quickly knocked down a three-pointer. You'll see that clip right now. And I thought that was good. Certainly showed off. On a lot of these three-pointers that I saw Macomb make, and there were plenty of them early on, it wasn't just stepping into a three. It was pass, like swing the ball around. That was, I thought, important because it wasn't like Farmington was letting guys wide open. It was just eventually when you swing it around enough, inside, outside, someone's going to leak free, and eventually that's what Macomb did. So fun night there. They get the win, 46-33, now 5-2 on the season. Again, a fun night too for Shelby Burgett, ahead of it, getting recognized for his service, and he went right back to work and continued doing his job. So those are my recaps. Couple things what to watch for coming up. I want to highlight Q&D boys basketball. The first road game of the season, they play at Southeastern on Friday. 4-0 on the season are the Raiders, and that shows what Greg Altmix can do as the first-year coach there. Does he continue that undefeated stretch? Southeastern is 2-4, and obviously Q&D 4-0. So we'll see. First time away from the pit, but obviously Greg Altmix has made his impact on that Q&D squad early on in this one. Well, now as we get into the season, into the thick of things, watch to see how that team continues once again. Altmix can coach, see how that continues from here. And then I want to flip it, go over to QHS. But on the girls' side, they've got one heck of a gauntlet this week. QHS girls take on 8-1 Galesburg on Friday. When you look at the Max Preps rankings, Galesburg is ranked 26th in Illinois. For some comparison, QHS girls coming into Wednesday were ranked 93rd in the state. So that is not an easy matchup against an 8-1 team. And I said gauntlet because at the time I'm recording this, they're playing 7-2 Macomb. So they're playing some really tough matchups on a Wednesday and a Friday, so that will learn a lot, I think, about this QHS girls team that is 4-2 on the season. Just looking before starting this recording, QHS was up a couple points at halftime over Macomb. By the time this thing is uploaded, that game will probably be over. But it could be a nice win against the 7-2 Macomb team if QHS girls can get it. Jada Brown having a really nice season, averaging just over 18 points a game. Once again, according to Max Preps, where I was looking at these rankings and stats before recording this. But some fun stuff there. If they could pull off a win against Galesburg, an 8-1 team, that would be really big for a QHS girls team that has a lot of talent on it too, obviously led by Jada Brown with the points I just mentioned, but they've got talent over the place with Longcore and others as well on that squad. So fun stuff there. Q&D boys, big matchup, trying to stay undefeated with Altmix, and then QHS, girls, fun stuff there too. They take on some really tough matchups this week. So we'll see. It's going to be plenty of hoops talk here from now on. Maybe mix in a little wrestling as well, but we are in the full swing of those winter sports. Going to be plenty more recaps like these, depending on what games I go to, how that interacts with the rest of my schedule, and doing other stuff for the station. But again, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to this episode of Local Sports Recap, and I will see you again next week.